Bless the Beasts and Children by Glendon Swarthout. Chapter 5. They booted at full gallop until the nags, unaccustomed to such shenanigans, were near collapse. Valley, too, had also dropped his pillow and would not go on without it. They waited for him near the paved highway into town. Thanking their lucky stars, they still had arms and legs, then swung right and let the animals weave at a drunkard walk along the gravel shoulder of the highway, blowing hard and slavering. One morning last autumn, Goodnow was gripped by a phobic reaction to school. He could not enter his classroom. His breathing was labored, his state one of extreme fright. Interviewed by the principal, he disclosed fear for the safety of his mother alone at home without him. He was passed on to the school psychologist, who quickly diagnosed the Oedipal relationship. When he was 4, Gerald's father died, and for 8 years he slept with his mother. When he was 12, his mother married an executive of a machine tool company in Cleveland, an engineer who had adult children of his own. The psychologist recommended therapy for Gerald and both parents. A man too old and preoccupied to be a father to a young boy, the stepfather refused. But seen in private, the mother revealed major ambivalence, a fragmentation between hostility and love, between the natural needs of a son and a new mate. Gerald's phobia intensified, as did his dependence on his mother. Placed in a special day school for emotionally disturbed children in Shaker Heights, where he lived, he underwent therapy. At the first sign of improvement, his stepfather enrolled him again in his regular school. The problem reappeared. He was unable to remain in the classroom. When his stepfather discovered that he wet the bed, he was severely punished. They wrangled about what kind of car to bag. Shecker and Lallywan were of the opinion that while you were at it, you might as well bag a Caddy or Imperial or Lincoln at least. Cotton said no. 6 boys in a big car would stick out like sore thumbs. They needed was a car nobody would notice, a nothing car. I was talking with the director one day after we took off for the movie, he said. He told me we're juvenile delinquents the second we leave camp without permission. We can be picked up and tossed in the old hoosgow. They wanted to know how come. Because by the law, a JD's anybody under 16 who breaks the law or is a fugitive from his parents. That's the catch. He's our parents for the summer, acting as, if we break out, we're fugitives from our folks. He told me the camp's got it fixed that way with the fuzz, so bloodhounds and stuff. The car passed them. In the glare of its headlights, they hunched down into jackets and up into headgear. Damn, Cotton swore. We gotta get wheels. Fast. He kicked his mount into a trot, and the others followed him along the 2-lane blacktop coiling in snake curves toward town. The first possibility they came to was a cocktail bar before which 3 cars were parked. They pulled up to consider. Take your pick, Teft said spaciously. Cotton shook his head. That bar will close in an hour. We grab one of those, and the guy coming out will see it's gone and call the cops, and we'll have them after us by radio. They went on. Another car approached, this time from the front, and catching them full beam in its lights, braked sharply, swerving for a look at the nightmare parade beside the road. When it moved on, Cotton cursed again and ordered everybody off and lead horses. They had to ditch these animals. Trailing after him, they left the highway, stumbling into a patch of greasewood and stunted trees. Here they tied up and bade farewell to their noble steeds, which were asleep on their feet anyway, and stumbled out again. Soon they entered civilization, the ragged commercial edges of Prescott, clomping past billboards and antique shops and rock shops and gas stations and curio emporiums and junkyards, and coming eventually to a motel and its adjunct stable of automobiles. This is it, Teft said, handing over the rifle. Those cars will be there till morning. Cotton agreed. Okay, we split up. You bag one and we'll keep a lookout over there by that Richfield station. And everybody turn off those damn radios. They moved across the street and squatted behind a rack of retread tires while Teft sauntered among travelers' cars, taking his time, praising the various models with a dealer's cynicism. But as he stopped by a sedan, having a glance at the rubber, a car with a California license putzed out of nowhere and swung into the motel entrance, and a man got out and stretched and rang the bell, and lights blared on in the office, and the man went inside to register, during which sequence Teft disappeared, to stroll a minute later across the street, as though out for some fresh air. They huddled behind the retreads. Want to wait? He asked Cotton. No, he'll have to park and unload, and we don't have the time. Damn the lousy luck. We'll find something down the street. We better. They did. Traipsing along in less than a block, they walked into a banquet of transportation, a used car lot. This time they accompanied Teft, only to find that the cars were locked and his skills, he confessed, did not include breaking and entering. Up and down the rows they scattered, trying doors, searching for a lowered window, and had worked their way to the rear of the lot when, without warning, the one police car in Prescott poked its hood into the drive and swiveled its spotlight from one side of the lot to the other. They ducked, they dove into cars, they embraced rear bumpers, and when, satisfied the cop car pulled away, they dashed out of the lot like amateurs, running another block and ganging up under a streetlight. Frightened, angry with themselves because they jumped first on Teft. Some crook, big-time carbacker, couldn't steal candy from a baby. What do you need, the keys? Anxieties like mosquitoes beset them. When Teft would not defend himself, they began to come apart at the seams as a team, divide themselves into individuals, each with his own bulging jacket of concern and idiosyncrasy. It was this disintegrative behavior pattern, this overreaction to mistake or hindrance or minor misfortune, this roller coaster drop from assurance to despair. From assurance to despair about which Cotton worried most. Over the short run, he was certain the bedwetters could now cope. They were not yet prepared temperamentally for the long, hard pull. It was his flaw, too. We're great, yeah, we're really great, he sneered, despite himself. I'm hungry, Shekhar said. Goodenow was near tears. He put down the buffalo head. I can't carry this anymore. My arm's tired. It's everybody's, and everybody should take turns. How are we going to do what we're supposed to do if we can't even get there? Hollywood demanded. I'm inching a ride, announced Ally2, clutching his pillow. Somebody will give me one, because I'm just a little boy. Thumb time, his brother taunted. No, bump time, Cotton said. Come on. It was the magic word. Gladly they followed him out of the light and onto the sidewalk and under the overhang of the supermarket. There they formed a circle, joined hands, and tightened themselves into a huddle, excluding the world. They closed eyes. They clasped arms about waists and shoulders and hugged. Heads together, eyes closed, they bumped cheeks and noses gently, touching faces with their fingers. Like blind boys, they found each other and confirmed each other, and through the FM of the flesh, they sent to one another impulses of courage and affection. Bumping was what they often did in an emergency. Hey, Teft said, breaking it up. He faced the street. Opposite them was the low, dark cube of a body shop, and parked beside it in shadow a white Chevy pickup, perhaps 10 years old. A muddy, fender-bent puddle jumper, very similar to those at camp. Will that do? He asked Cotton. Hell yes. Anything that'll get us there. He pounded a fist into a palm, challenging. Let's see you do it, though. We just want to see you. Roger. Teft passed him the 22. You gents wait down the street. I'll be along in a trice. They had to watch a car being bagged. Besides, they wanted to believe in Teft, to be astonished by him again, and rather than waiting down the block, they scooted behind a Chevron billboard nearby, their heads sprouting from the frame like cabbages. Old Teft moseyed across the silent street as though he wore a Colt and a tin star. Idling around the pickup, he made certain it was unlocked and the keys gone. He kicked a couple of tires. Approving, he stepped efficiently to the front end and raised the hood. From a jacket pocket, he extracted a jumper wire about 18 inches long with alligator clips at each end. Head and shoulders on the hood, he attached one clip to the positive terminal on the battery, the other to the battery connection on the coil. Lowering the hood, he opened the cab door and slid in. On pickups this old, the starter button was on the dash to the left of the steering column. His fingers reached it, pressed. Teft often astonished them. He was tall, thin, and 14, though tall enough to be 16, a tilted boy who walked around with a tilted smile and said and did little, and then, suddenly, said and did a great deal. There was something culpable about Teft. You suspected him first. He lived a tilted life. It was Teft who freed them from their junior counselor, the overgrown cornball of 19 whom they called Wheaties because he had been a football hero in some nothing town in Arizona and rode well and was a sure shot with a rifle and attempted to pep talk them into shape, his shape, and in general made a fatuous, all-around horse's ass of himself. He hated them, and they hated him. But Teft hated him more. To Teft, authority was tyranny, and one night while Weeds was in town on his night off, Teft put a lizard in his sleeping bag. When he returned, around 1 in the morning, and stuffed himself into bed, Wheaties hit the ceiling. He roared terror, then rage. He turned on the lights. He confiscated the radios. The other counselors said they were emotionally disturbed. He said emotionally bullcrap. What they really were was dings. A ding, he said, was something or somebody which didn't fit anything or anywhere. It used up space, but it was useless. Nobody wanted it or knew what to do with it. Therefore, it had no excuse for being or living. And the 6 of them were the poorest assortment of snot-nosed, big-mouthed, crybaby dings ever enrolled in this camp. And the only reason he had their cabin was because no other counselor would take it, but he had a crawful now. And from now on, they'd toe his line or he'd disturb their goddamn emotions so much the men in white coats would come take them away to the funny farm, where they belonged. Hell he would, Teff said. Curling from his sack, he dragged the footlocker from under Wheaties' bed, threw it open. Before Wheaties could stop him, he exposed the contents. Besides clothing, there was a pint of whiskey, 2 six-packs of beer, a carton of cigarettes, and a stack of sex magazines. Wheaties yelled his locker was locked and personal. Teff replied he was expert with locks. So this is it, Wheaties, he said. First, let's have those radios back. After that, you can play like a counselor, but you won't be. Just want me to inform the director what a fako you really are, what a bad influence is, how having you around might destroy our morals, and also what's in this locker. Teft smiled that tilted smile. So from now on, baby, kiss off. You can live here. We'll let you because we're generous, but this is our cabin, and we'll run it our way. If you don't like it, you can shove it up your anal orifice. The engine turned over, started, hiccuped, stopped, started again, settled down. Listening to it almost medically, Teft hooked the boot heel over the clutch, shifted by guess and gosh, and bucked away from the body shop. He preferred automatic transmissions. Gunning a full block before he spotted them, tearing out from behind the billboard, chasing him, he braked, grounded the gears into reverse, backed up to meet them in the middle of the street, braked again, and as they reached him, stuck an arm upright out the window, grinning, Achtung. They were rapturous. All 5 tried to climb in beside him. Hey, Teft, how'd you do it? Ladies first. The Phantom strikes again. Let's go to Disneyland instead. Shut up, damn it, Cotton cried. Where do you think you are? Okay, Lally 2 and me in front, the rest in back. We'll change off later. Come on, hurry up and shut up. They scrambled in, Lally 2 in the cab with him, Shecker and Goodnow, and Lally 1 and the Buffalo Head in the bed. Now listen, hear this, Cotton told those in back. Lie down, flat. We bagged the car and we're armed. We're in real trouble if anybody stops us. You saw the prowl car, so stay down and no talking until we're out of town. Don't even breathe. Well, they flattened out, he ordered Lally 2 off the seat and on the floor. He wanted only a driver showing. When Lally 2 was down, he laid the rifle on the seat and scrounged beside him, bowing head under the dashboard and closing the door. Teft, he said, you really know how to drive this thing? I'm learning. Well, take it slow, but not too slow. The thing is to get through town without anybody giving us a second look. Pick up with one guy driving and keeping his nose clean. Oh, and Teft, how about turning on those lights? Lights? Jeez, I forgot. Teft found the control and clicked the dimmer button on the floorboard. You guys aren't so sharp, sniffed Lally 2 under the dash, hat brim over his nose, neither of you. How come? I can't even see, but I bet Teft still got that German cap on. Teft grimaced and took it off and raced the engine. Ready, Skipper? Fire one, Cotton said. Teft geared the Chevy away smoothly this time, asking Cotton whether to stick to the side streets or bluff it out on a main drag. Straight away, Cotton thought to save time because it might look more suspicious if they monkeyed around on back streets. This one was Montezuma. They followed it downtown to the stretch known in the good old days as Whiskey Row, a block of swing door bazaars in which hard liquor was dispensed, 2 drinks for 2 bits, beer for a nickel, free lunch for indigestion, piano music for an earache, a poker hand for a $1, and a close shave by 44 slugs for nothing. Kentucky to Wellington, the Del Monte, Cobweb Hall, and the Palace. Went up in smoke in 1900. Now, when greenhorn campers came into Prescott for an hour's spree every 2 weeks, they barged into a drugstore, sprouted up on soda stools, and exchanged decadent Eastern paper for malts and nut sundaes and milkshakes and double banana splits. Holy cow, Teft said. What? The law, that prowl car again. Sit tall, Cotton said. On the floor, then tensed until Teft pulled out his cheeks and whistled relief. Pickup paused for a stoplight at the intersection of Montezuma and Gurley. On its right was the town plaza, a grassy square surmounted by the grass mats and clock tower of the Yavapai County Courthouse. Horse and rider reared upon a granite boulder. It was the equestrian monument to Bucky O'Neill, gay blade and sheriff and pharaoh player and Mayor Prescott and captain of Troop A, 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry, Rough Riders, immortalized by Spanish lead at San Juan Hill, and knighted now in bronze. The plaza was beautiful. Hawthorn trees cast pleasant shade in summer. Into the benches under the trees, old codgers came daily from the Veterans Hospital and the Pioneers' Home. Domiciliary patients, they were called, not ill or maimed or dotty enough to be confined, but too infirm to tap with cranes through a society which honored them with pensions and forgot to attend their funerals. In Hawthorn shade and the tolling of the courthouse bell, they mustered every day, these fragile warriors, sitting on the benches hour by garrulous hour, cussing and discussing the agenda of dentures and generals, surgery and ingrate doubters, taxes in the Old Testament, politics, and final resting places, jogging memory with oaths, and basing arguments upon a bibliography of broken wind. They spat, they whittled. Waving tobacco cans, they cackled at pretty girls. Boys they dismissed with a fine misanthropy. Righteous and grand, they were also pathetic. They were dusty bugles, hungry for new lips. They were notes from the past adrift in cracked bottles, praying fairer skies and kindly shores. Tapped? When they had turned on to Gurley and were headed up the hill and out of town, Cotton spoke. Yo, bagging the scrape, damn well done. Thanks. They began to roll. The shiver ran hot and misfired on a cylinder or two, and the front wheels wobbled out of alignment, and the safety chains on the tailgate rattled unmercifully, but it would do. Leaving the last of the neon, they connected with the state highway, curving north past the Veterans Hospital on the side of what was once Fort Whipple, then on to the bubbles of rock rising like yeast. When they took the right fork and were delivered all at once into wide open range, it was bye-bye cops, sleep tight Box Canyon Boys Camp, adios Prescott, and they were safe. Three, flat in the bed, came to life and pounded exuberantly on the cab window, and Cotton and Lally 2 untangled onto the seat and pounded back, and the bedwetters cheered.